program and now YouTube live session. And this is our session number 33. And tonight I'm going to talk about how to write the career episodes, matching the 16 iron engineer overseas and trying to recognize your qualification here in Australia. And I'd like to ask you informally, what do you think about my new shirt? That's the design that was done by my niece back in Brazil, and my wife she ordered some polo. So career episodes, how to match the 16 competencies. But first, for those that don't know me, my name is Gerson Aida, and I'm the founder of www.engineersinaustralia.com, a website to share content of value and useful information to help you in your journey to validate your engineering qualification in Australia. And as you probably know, I also share information about workplace health and safety, environmental management, the day-to-day of an engineer in Australia, and about some professional engineering recruitment as well. So welcome everyone in Facebook. If you have any questions, please send me in the comments. I can see that Bruno is watching, and Marcelo and João. Yeah, welcome and thanks for your time. I've Facebook here on my left. I've got YouTube a little bit down here, and I've got Instagram up the top. And welcome, Eduardo. Yeah. So, and if you stay until the end, I will give you my free ebook that I wrote about the 10 challenges that most overseas engineers they face when they arrive in Australia. And next month, I will be promoting my free workshop, 11 days of engineering qualification validation, to help you to fulfill your dream to be recognized as an engineer in Australia. You just need to register using the link that I'm going to put in the comments. And if you're not yet subscribed to my website, you will receive, as soon as you complete your registration, you will receive an email with a button that you need to confirm your email address. So I believe that we have the dates yet, but it's probably going to be around the 15th of April. There will be 11 days of full of contents where every day I'm going to have something different and worthwhile. It's a free workshop. You can register for free and get a lot of information next month about the validation process. And as I said before I start, if you have any questions about when you're writing your career episodes, please write in the comments. And after 5 or 10 minutes, I will go back to the questions and I will answer them. So let's get down to the business now. And I'm really happy to be here and share my experience in the validation process, having done myself and having helped many other engineers in the process as well. Yeah, so sorry, I got a bit, it's not a cough, it's not coronavirus, but I've got something in my throat that it's just annoying. So, the career episodes. I'll talk very briefly about what is a career episodes because a lot of my audience they don't know what a career episode is, and I'm going to talk briefly about the competencies as well. So the career episodes they are you will need to write 3 career episodes as part of your CDR, your competency demonstration report, especially if you are from a country that it's not under those Washington Accord or Sydney Accord or Dublin Accord. And obviously, if you haven't done an Australian qualification as well, you will have to follow the CDR pathway, competency demonstration report. So in Brazil, Colombia, Chile, Mexico, Argentina, and many other countries, they're not part of these accords, and the pathway is the CDR pathway. So you have to write 3 career episodes. It's got to be your own work. That's very important. That it's got to be your own work. Can be just academic experience, or can be also professional experience, and can also be both academic and professional experience in the three career episodes. It's important that they cover different periods of your engineering experience. And there's a very important warning about plagiarism. The importance to be your own work, it's because in Engineers Australia, they've got a very advanced software to detect plagiarism. And if you get caught because you've copied somebody else's career episode, or you copy from a template or from the internet, you most certainly will be banned for 12 months, and all your details will also be passed to the Department of Home Affairs so they can kind of instigate an investigation. So the 16 competencies. So why do we have 16 competencies? Regardless if you are applying under the professional engineer, under the technologist, or under the engineering associate, you will have to demonstrate 16 competencies. And those 16 competencies, they are split in three major areas. The first major area, it's called PE1. For example, if you are applying for a professional engineer, so it's called PE, professional engineer, category number one, which is knowledge and skill base. You will have 6 competencies under this category. And then PE number two is engineering application ability. You will have another 4 competencies under that category. And then another 6 competencies under the PE number 3, which is professional and personal attributes. The detailing of each of the 16 competencies you can find in the Engineers Australia Migration Skills Assessment booklet that you can find in the Engineers Australia website. There's no recipe to match the 16 competencies to the career episodes. What it happens is that you will need to find, and as the booklet says, you have to find a complex engineering problem, or a complex engineering project, or a complex engineering task. And supposedly, if you have a complex engineering problem, when you describe that problem, and when you describe that resolution, and when you describe all the steps that you did to apply your engineering knowledge, to apply your engineering judgment, applying the technical standards, basically, you will be addressing automatically all the 16 competencies. But anyway, I put together 7 steps to assist you in how to better write your career episodes that potentially will be easier for you to match the 16 competencies. So the first step is that you gotta read the migration skills assessment booklet. And you will have to read several times. Unfortunately, there's no other way. There are 50 pages, 50 pages in the booklet. I believe that there is a new version of the booklet that was released in October 2019. Earlier was the May 2019 version. Now there is the October 2009 version. So it's very important that you download the current version of the booklet. And there's no other way. You have to read the booklet several times, and especially the competency list. The competency list, it's another few pages there. You have to read all the 16 competencies and have those 16 competencies fresh in your mind when you are writing your career episodes. Step number 2, create a list and then list all the engineering experiences with no judgment. So it's like a brainstorming session. You think about your engineering experiences and then you list all those engineering experiences. So you have at least something to compare because you will have to ask yourself a few questions, uh, how to better choose the career episode experiences. We won't have time today to talk about how to better choose the experiences to write your career episodes. We're probably going to discuss how to better choose your career episodes or how to better choose the experiences for your career episodes during the free workshop in April. So make sure that you register yourself to the workshop, and then we will be discussing during the workshop. But so step number one, you read the booklet several times, especially the competency lists. Step number two, you list engineering experiences with no judgment. So you do like a brainstorming session. Step number three, you got to check for your ANZ SEO definition. So that's really, really important. ANZ SEO definition. If you Google, let's say that you are a mechanical engineer, so you can Google mechanical engineer ANZ SEO definition, and it will give, I think the website is from the Australian Bureau of Statistics. So make sure that you follow the official website from the Australian Bureau of Statistics. I think it's abs.gov.au. And then if you type in the type of engineering that you have, let's say mechanical engineer, ANZ SEO, it will give you the definition of a mechanical engineer and the tasks and activities that a mechanical engineer is able to perform here in Australia. And you got to make sure that the experiences that you're going to choose for your career episode, they do match with the definition of the ANZ SEO. If they don't, you have a big risk that Engineers Australia may not accept your experiences as part of your career episode. Step number four, you got to check if the experiences have a complex engineering problem or if it is a complex engineering task. That's very important. The booklet says that you got to have a complex engineering problem or task. And a lot of us engineers, we did a lot of engineering work in our country of origin. I myself, for example, I'm a civil engineer, and as a civil engineer, uh, once I graduated, I did a lot of work. I did a lot of complex work. I did a lot of work that was not so complex, but needed to be an engineer to do it. One example is, let's say, a block of land subdivision. So to subdivide a block of land, there's got to be a civil engineer. You got to do the topographics. You got to have your surveys, and then you got to draw plans, and you got to go to the local council, and then you can subdivide a block of land. So although it is a job for a civil engineer in Brazil, here in Australia, yeah, probably if you have that experience, you would like to use that experience to use as your career episode, perhaps it's not a good one. One, because probably it's not that very complex. It's not really involved calculations. It's not really involving design work. It's not involving structural work. It's not involving a lot of complex analysis of engineering. So, yeah, Gerson, but in Brazil, it is an engineer job. Yeah, I'm not disputing that. What I'm saying is that here in Australia, engineers they gotta follow the definition of the ANZ SEO definition, and a civil engineer here is pretty much infrastructure engineer. They do calculation of the structures. They design and build and manage the operations of dams, roads, water systems, soil mechanics, etc. So that's step number 3 and 4. 3, check for A and Z SEO definition. Step number 4, check if the experiences have a complex engineering problem. Step number 5, uh, it's important to follow the process of problem solving. So every time that we try to solve a problem, we usually follow a method of problem resolution. So if you can describe in your career episodes what was the problem, what were the options that you had, and then the things that you use to decide on each option, obviously the standards and your engineering judgment, your engineering knowledge. So you decide in of one option, and then you've implemented that option, and then you describe how you implemented that option, and then you describe then finally the results that you've achieved. So if you follow that line of thought, problem, options, decision, implementation, results, you probably have better chances to address all the 16 competencies. Because for each of those steps, problem, options, decision, implementation, results, you have a good description of the problem. You have a good opportunity to describe how you applied your engineering problem. Step number 6, you gotta write solid evidences in the middle column of the summary statement. So when you see the summary statement, you can find a template, probably the only template that you can use. You can find in the Engineers Australia website. There's a Word document with the template of the 16 competencies, and there is a middle column. In that middle column, you gotta write solid evidence in the middle column of the summary statement. For example, there is a competency called, it's in the PE2, PE 2.3. It's about design work. When I did my career episode and when I did my summary statement, clearly wrote that I have designed an undercovered sports ground using a self-supporting roofing. So it was a design work that I did myself. It was in my second career episode, so I clearly evidence in the middle column there. Marcel, I'm just going back to you. I'm just going to talk about the last step, and then I'll go to your question. Please hold a little bit, please. And if you have any other questions, if you have questions in Facebook, please write down in the comments. I'll be answering them. If you have any questions here in YouTube, yeah, please write in the comments, and I'll have a look as well. And the last step, you gotta review your career episodes with the competency list. There's no other way. The competency list, there are 16 competencies, and there are a lot of things that you can do to demonstrate those competencies. Uh, you gotta spend and invest time writing your career episodes. It's not something that you will do overnight. You have to do, there's a lot of planning that you need to do. I teach how to plan for the career episodes and how to write summary statements in my mentoring program, Validation Formula. And I'll be talking a little bit about that during my free workshop in April. So please make sure that you register for that. But time and planning, we gotta exercise what we've learned as an engineer: planning and investing time. The better you plan for your career episode, better the result is going to be when you're actually writing your career episodes. So you got to review your career episodes with the competency lists. And then some people ask me the question, Jerson, but do I need to have all the 16 competencies in every single career episodes? Well, the booklet says that you just need one summary statement for the 3 career episodes. So theoretically, you don't need to demonstrate all 16 competencies in every single career episode. But my suggestion for you, is that you find a way to demonstrate all 16 competencies in every single career episode because it will give you a stronger career episode. So now I'll go back to the question that Marcelo asked, and thanks Marcelo for the question. So he's asked the following question. Gerson, what about this episode developing new concrete traces, analyzing concrete pathologies, managing a premix concrete plant? Is it gonna be a good idea to talk about? Uh, yeah, difficult to say just reading your question there, Marcelo. It appears to be, especially when you're doing developing a new concrete trace. We got to remember that a concrete trace is if you're doing a 15 megapascals, if you're doing a 30 megapascals, if you're doing a 50 megapascals, the traces between sand and gravel and cement and water and fly ash, etc., etc. They're pretty much well known, and there are already some standards for that. Unless you're doing a specific concrete trace for that, it could be interpreted as complex. But if you're just calculating, all right, I've got a concrete that I need to do, let's say 40 megapascals, and then for that you will have to have this much of sand, this much of gravel, this much of cement, this much of water, and then gotta have a pump like this, and then you gotta add some additives to whatever is your application. uh, yeah, in my opinion, I don't believe it's complex enough, but you can always try. So depending on the application of that concrete, if it was a special use concrete and you had to design and you have to maybe run some tests and some laboratory tests, perhaps you can include as part of your complex. And Marcelo also added, actually, I have already written my 3 career episodes. One talking about my article published about analysis of the influence of wind in structures. Two, talk about my daily routine as a civil site engineer, planning the steps of the process, etc. And 3 is that of that concrete. I'd say that number 1 looks really, really interesting, talking about your article that you published about analysis of the influence of wind in structures. Looks like that there could be some structural analysis in that particular career episode, so it looks all right. Talk about the daily routines as a civil site engineer. Again, depends on what sort of a site you were talking about, depend on the complexity of the construction that you were doing. My opinion, my personal opinion is that yeah, I think it's weak to medium. I don't believe it's a strong it's a strong experience without looking the details, but it seems to be that yeah, may not be really what they're after. And the third one is about that concrete. Yeah, without knowing the details, it's difficult to say. But if the trace, concrete trace, was a more complex or a special use of that concrete, perhaps you can use. Uh, I don't know if is there any other questions about that. And I hope I helped a little bit, Marcelo, in your questions. Yeah, it's really complicated, and I keep saying that the civil engineer in Brazil and sometimes the mechanical engineer in Brazil, they are a bit, well, we are a bit unfortunate because let's say a civil engineer is like a jack of all trades, once we graduate, we do a lot of things that perhaps it's not considered as a professional engineer here in Australia. And then we do a lot of work managing some refurbishments. We do fit outs of shops. We do refurbishment of houses. We do a lot of design plans in terms of architecture design. And sometimes that sort of work is not really considered as the level of the professional engineer here in Australia. So in those cases, you're probably better to go back to your academic work and try to find out if you can retrieve some of the academic work that you did to better demonstrate your competency as a professional engineer. And I really hope that this content was helpful. We're already 35 minutes, and I promised I was going to be 15, 20 minutes, but it's a lot of content and a lot of information to talk in just 15, 20 minutes. And that's why I have my free workshop where I have 11 days that I'm going to be really bombarding and flooding you with a lot of information. I'll have a live webinar, which takes about 1 hour, 2 hours as well during the workshop, so I can answer more questions, I can give more examples. And as promised, if you haven't downloaded my free ebook about the 10 challenges that most overseas engineers they face when they arrive in Australia, you can request your free PDF by clicking in the link in the comments. I'm just going to type free workshop is the first one there, bit.ly/register VF5. I believe that in Instagram, it doesn't really work as a link, so you got to copy and paste. Another option in Instagram, if you go to my bio, I've got the link there. It will open a tree of links, and you can register to my workshop in there as well. And also I've got more than 65 videos in my YouTube channel. So if you search for Gerson Ida in YouTube, you will find my channel there. I've got more than 65 videos that you can watch for free, and you can learn about a lot about the validation process. And but really, really important is for you to participate in my online free workshop next month. And if you have any questions, please send me a question. My email, admin@engineersinaustralia.com. It's certainly in the comments as well. I'll put in YouTube, admin@engineersinaustralia.com. So you can have it there. Anybody has any other question? No other questions. If you guys don't have any other questions, I'll probably end this live session for tonight. I thank you very much, guys, for your participation and your attendance. And I will see you again next Sunday, 9 p.m., Instagram, YouTube, or Facebook. Have a nice end of Sunday. Thank you very much, and bye-bye. Thank you. Bye.